You're listening to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast, episode number 118.
In the space between desire and action, there lurks a shadowy nemesis to all wishy-washy, scaredy cats and procrastinators. A powerful force to be reckoned with, a master of movement, a champion of change. What is it? Guess. Don't dally or hesitate, guess. Need a hint? Decide already. That's right. I'm talking about decision. Welcome to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast. I'm your host, Krylyn Peters. Each week, I bring you inspiring messages to help you create the life you're meant to lead. Buckle up, buttercups. Welcome to the podcast, Fear Busters. Today, I am diving into step 3 in my model of motivation, actually. And if you've missed the last 3 episodes, you gotta go back and listen. So we're in episode 118 right now. So you've gotta go back and listen to episodes 115, 16, and 17, where I talk about this model of motivation and I dive into step 1, then step 2, and this week, finally, step 3. And again, to find any of my episodes, you can go to my website, Krylyn.com. That's KRYLYN.com. And then it's / whatever the episode number it is. So Krylyn.com/115. Krylyn.com/116 or Krylyn.com/117. If you are listening to this episode on my website, just scroll down a little bit and you will be able to just click those links to go to those episode titles. But don't do it while you're listening right now. You can definitely pause, but they are there for you to go click and enjoy. And also, if you download the handout for this week's episode at Krylyn.com/118, you will be able to click on the links in the handout to go to those previous episodes as well. Yes. Okay, so this week we are diving into step 3 of my model of motivation, and that is, you guessed it from the title, decision or decide. So step 3 is all about making the decision. Now, it just so happens, and if you've been listening to several of my episodes, you may know this already, but if not, that's okay too. I did an entire episode just devoted to making decisions because there's a lot involved in making decisions, as you know. So you can also go back and listen to that episode, and that is episode number 96. So feel free to go back and listen to that episode specifically about making decisions. Today, however, I'm diving into decisions as it relates to motivation. Okay, so we've already gone through step 1, we've gone through step 2. Step 3 is about the decision. And I'm kind of going to give away a little of the other pieces of the model right now, but like I have said in the previous episode talking about all 4 steps of the model, this particular step, decision, is the space between desire, which is step 2, and action, which is step 4. It's the space between. It's that choice point of when you get to decide, am I going to move forward with this change in my life, or am I not going to move forward with this change in my life? It's simple and yet not always easy. Okay, so we're going to dive into it a little bit. I have some questions to ask you to help you with this whole decision, okay? Because I know that making a decision, again, it's simple and not always easy. And yet we need to address it in more detail, which is what we're doing here. Okay, so that space between desire and action, this is what makes or breaks us, right? This is where we get to decide, are we going to sit at the kids' table or at the big girls' table? And we've got to take responsibility and just make the decision. So here are 3 questions to help you with that decision. So as I've said before in relation to making decisions, I'm not here to judge you. If you decide to not move forward with a change, that is your choice. I just implore, beg, no, I just invite you to remember you have to live with the consequences, okay? And that's all there is to it. So as long as you are able to live with the consequences of whatever you decide, then that's fine. However, if you're kind of on the fence, you're like, I don't know, should I move forward? Should I not move forward? What do I need to do here? Here's the questions to ask yourself. Okay, first question number 1. What will life be like if I choose not to move into action? Okay, so what will life be like if I choose not to? So we talked a little bit about what it's going to look like when we do, but now I want you to look at what it's going to look like if you don't. Okay, so this is where some of the possible regrets might come up, okay, or not, depending. However, it's a really important question to ask yourself. So what will life be like if I choose not to take action or move into action? So in other words, this is another way to look at it, is if you do nothing, how is that going to be for you? Okay, so that's the kind of other way to look at it. Like I said last week, in last week's episode, I talk about kind of spinning things on their head, looking at things from different perspectives. There's always more than one way. Actually, I'd say several ways to ask any question. And sometimes I like to spin it around, look at it from a different angle, because it gets us to think about it in a different way. And when we think about it in a different way, we are better able to understand what we really think about it. Okay, so that is question number 1. Question number 2, can you live with yourself, no regrets? Okay, I talked about regretting already, but can you live with yourself, no regrets, if you choose not to move into action? Okay, this is, that's one of those questions where you're like, no, like, I don't want to answer that. And yet you need to look at it. Again, there's no judgment here. This is not about having you go, oh, I should do this, I shouldn't do that. Yeah, I know that's where you're going to go with it. However, I want you to just be able to answer the question. Are you going to be able to live with it? Can you live with yourself if you choose not to? This is one of the questions that I ask myself. Actually, I just have a really quick story because I have a very important decision to be making right now in my life. And my son actually asked me a variation of this question the other day to help me look at it from a different perspective, because I was kind of stuck in looking at it from maybe one or two angles, and yet I had forgotten this question, which is something that I typically will ask myself when I'm making a major decision about something. So he brought it up to me. He's like, Mom, are you going to be able to live with it if you don't move forward with this other course of action? And I was like, oh, it was just that moment of, man, I hate you. I love you. I hate you. I love you. I hate you. I love you for bringing that up, because it just turned everything around. And I was like, okay, got it. I got it. Thank you. It's one of those perspective shift questions that just really helps you uncover how you truly feel about something. So definitely an important question. And I have another kind of way to look at it too. And that is, can you live with just your desire without acting on it? Ooh, and that one I love too, because if we have a desire and we don't act on it, then it can become a regret. But sometimes we have a desire and we're just like, yeah, it's not burning enough. So I talked about desire a lot in last week's episode with step 2. But, if it's not burning enough, then, it's kind of like that, I don't know. It's not too important. It's not something that I really feel like I need to act on right now. And that's great. That's fine. If you identify, it's like, why would you want to move forward with something that's, So uncovering that now before you take a lot of action is a really great thing. So another good question to ask yourself. So I have kind of like a part A and a part B to each of these questions, just an FYI. Anyway, so question number 3 is, are you ready to commit to your decision? Okay. This is a big part of decision making, and where I would say if you want to go even deeper into this, because I'm not going to do it too deep right now, but if you want to go even deeper, go back and listen to episode number 96, where I talk about more detail about the process of making decisions. However, this commitment, like commitment is something that we can be fearful of. Yeah. So we might, and it could be something simple. Like for me, when I moved last year, I had to make a commitment to give up cable. And I was like, what? So when I was a teenager, we were one of the first people on our block to get cable. And I remember watching that flagship episode of MTV with, the moon landing flag plant graphic. And, so like that was a part of history. So giving up cable, like what? And it was like a tremendous decision for me. And it's something that I had to not only commit to, but I have to keep recommitting to. And so it's been over a year now, and I don't miss it all the time anymore. I miss it sometimes, but not enough to do anything about it. However, it was like a big decision for me. And it required, like I said, not only committing to it the first time, but recommitting. And so that's also what I'm talking about. So kind of my part B to this question is that when things get tough, can you continue to make that decision? So recommit to that decision over and over again, even if you like want to scream. Okay. So it's remembering that you committed to it once. So you can do it. You can do it. However, recommitting over and over again, because things are going to come up and your faith is going to be tested as you're moving through change. It's just fact. That's how it goes. It's a process of change. So you've got to be able to not only commit, but to recommit to it. All right. So that's my little spiel on making decisions and all these beautiful little questions to help you with that process of figuring out, are you ready to move into step number 4, which I'm going to get into in greater detail in next week's episode. See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Get Out of Your Own Damn Way podcast. If you've been inspired, please share the podcast with your friends. You can find us on iTunes or at Krylyn.com. KRYLYN.com.